My name is Pius Murray. I'm a native of Portumna in East Galway and I live in Corofin, County Clare, on the southern edge of the Burren. I have a walking business called walkwithpius.com. I'm a member of the Burren Ecotourism Network, who have just won the Lonely Planet Community Award for 2021. I'm also a member of Pilgrim Paths Ireland and the Burren Bio Trust. I organise and lead walks on the Aran Islands and in the Burren and throughout County Clare. I would like to thank Siobhan Arkins and her colleagues at the Galway Library Services for inviting me to talk to you on the topic of the benefits of walking as part of Healthy Ireland at the library. I remember as a child being told by my mother when I was getting under her feet, "Out you go, get some fresh air." I might not have realised it at the time. It was good advice. Fresh air is very beneficial. In his book, The Hidden Life of Trees, the German author and forester Peter Wolleben says that forest air is the epitome of healthy air, as the trees have filtered the pollutants in the air as they float by, so the air is cleaner under a canopy of trees. In recent times, you have been hearing about forest bathing. You walk out into nature, bathe yourself in natural surroundings, connect with the natural environment and use your senses. Forest bathing has its origins in 1980s Japan, where it developed as a remedy for stress-related issues. Peter Wolleben writes that South Korean scientists have been tracking older women as they walk through forests and urban areas. They found that when the women walked in the forest, their blood pressure, their lung capacity, and the elasticity of their arteries improved, whereas a walk in the town showed none of these changes. It seems deciduous forests are best, especially an oak wood. Remember, forests produce oxygen, so a daytime walk in a forest is like taking an oxygen shower. A few comments about the holistic benefits of walking. In his book, In Praise of Walking, The New Science of How We Walk and Why It Is Good for Us, the author, Shane O'Mara, Professor of Experimental Brain Research in Trinity College Dublin, says, "You get old when you stop walking. You don't stop walking because you get old." Every aspect of walking aids every aspect of one's being. Walking is good for the body, good for the brain, and good for society at large. Think of walking as something that repairs your brain, lowers your blood pressure, aids your digestive system, reduces inflammation, and allows you to be creative and better at problem solving. In this talk, I hope to share with you some ideas and 3 strategies that you might use when you're walking. First, using walking to solve a problem, to come to a decision, to process something that is troubling you, to think something through, to restore your peace of mind. Here are some quotes from history on problem solving and walking. St. Augustine, Bishop of Hippo in Africa, his motto was "Solvitur ambulando." It is solved by walking. Augustine was one of the great early Christian theologians, and he's most famous for asking God to make him chaste, but not just yet. Another quote is that of Friedrich Nietzsche, the 19th century German philosopher. He said, "Never trust a thought that didn't come by walking." And lastly, Søren Kierkegaard, the 19th century Danish philosopher, says, "Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being and walk away from every illness. I have walked myself into my best thoughts, and I know of no thought so burdensome that one cannot walk away from it." So, if you are trying to solve a problem, make a decision, Let go of something. If someone has asked you for advice, the evidence is that walking will help. So now I will share with you my first strategy. I call it the process walk, to solve a problem, etc. So what you do at the beginning of the walk is you find a sharp stone, pick it up, preferably a stone with sharp edges and sharp corners, because you are going to handle it during the walk. As you walk, give your attention to the problem that you have in mind as you manipulate the stone, and continue to do this for the duration of the walk. At the end of the walk, you can throw the stone away as a symbol of letting go of the problem. I sometimes throw the stone into a stream or a river if it's nearby. Next, I will tell you about walking to ground yourself. It is difficult to be grounded in modern society. The rapid rate of change is unsettling. There are constant demands on our time and energy, and you are living in your heads for most of the time. The problem with living in your head is that your head, the thinking mind, the ego, can only do two things. One, revisit the past, flooding your mind with invariably negative thoughts, disappointments, regrets, mistakes, missed opportunities, things in the past that cannot be changed. And two, it looks into the future, makes plans, which create anxieties and stress and worries about things that may never even happen. Remember, your head is never in the now, never in the moment, never fully present. Modern culture has created for many people conflict in their lives. John O'Donoghue says, "We live in a society where people are exiled from themselves. People feel a lack of connection and alienation. They feel fragmented, unanchored. They are literally in bits. But people wish to be grounded. They aspire to live harmonious lives. To do this, you must endeavour to get out of your head and into your body. Your body is in the now, is present." As an aside, there is new research into the benefits of biological grounding. That is, there are health and healing benefits when the soles of your feet, your bare feet, come into direct contact with the surface of the earth, especially in places of energy, for example, sacred sites of our ancestors. The research shows that walking in your bare feet generates electric nutrition, which provides antioxidants to your body and heals inflammations that you may not even be aware you had. Now, getting back to the walking, what I say is walking provides you with an activity that may enable you to be grounded and to get you out of your head and into your body. With regard to you deciding to go for a walk, I like the Buddhist tradition, which recommends that you just do it. No analysis, no excuses. What I mean is that when you're thinking about going for a walk, there will sometimes be conflict between the ego, the thinking mind, and the body. So, for example, you go to the front door and you look out and you look up and you see clouds and you say, "Oh, it could rain," or it could be very windy, and you'd say, "Oh, there could be branches falling from the trees." What's going on? Your ego is trying to convince you not to go for that walk. It's telling you to stay at home. And if you surrender, if you walk back inside, put on the kettle to make a cup of tea, sit down on the couch in front of the television, the ego is laughing heartily at you. You have been tricked. The ego doesn't want you to get into your body. The ego doesn't want you to take that walk. So, back to what I said. No analysis, no excuses, get out and walk. So now I'm going to share the second strategy with you. I sometimes call this a spiritual walk, or walking as meditation, and the purpose is to ground you. So during your walk, have a length maybe 1 kilometre long from point A to point B, where you are going to walk silently. And as you walk, you repeat the mantra 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Remember, a mantra stops you giving the left brain something to think about. Remember, the ego is in the left brain. Some people call it the control tower. It wants to be in control all the time. A mantra stops you giving the left brain something to think about. So you concentrate on your 1, 2, 3. And if, for example, you get distracted as you're saying your 1, 2, 3, I always come back to 3 and then continue on. And don't beat yourself up if you get distracted. So here how it goes. Foot forward, 1, next foot, 2, next foot, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Distraction. 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you do this and persist with it, what happens is you get out of your head and into your body, and you connect with the spirit within you. Your ego, the thinking mind, your head cannot connect with your spirit. Only through your body can you do this. At the end of the meditation walk, you feel energized. Why? Because you have connected with your spirit. I can assure you, I have been using this strategy for years, and it works. I give you another quote from John O'Donoghue. Our bodies know that they belong. It is our minds that make our lives so homeless. So, moving on to the next point. A benefit of walking is that walking brings you out into nature. In recent years, a new branch of psychotherapy called ecotherapy has emerged. A friend of mine, the psychologist David Staunton, offers counselling and psychotherapy sessions in the outdoors, in the Dublin mountains and in the Phoenix Park, because he's based in Dublin. He has set up a club called Walk in You. The in you part means today, so walk today. And Walk in You's motto is, take steps towards the change you want to see in your life. Take steps, that is, start walking. Ecotherapy is based on the Biophilia Hypothesis of E.O. Wilson, which was first enunciated in 1984. The Biophilia Hypothesis is, we have an innate instinct to connect emotionally and spiritually with nature. That is, human beings, me and you, are hardwired to connect with nature. Just as an aside, in January earlier this year, the National Botanic Gardens in Glasnevin in Dublin were offering biophilia tours. The message is that walking in nature can boost your health and sense of well-being. Studies have shown that being out in the green gym, that is, walking in forest parks, on hills, in the countryside, and being out in the blue gym, that is, walking by the sea, along cliff walks, on the beach, by rivers and lakes, they reduce stress and enhance well-being. Wilbert Gessler in 1992 coined the phrase therapeutic landscapes. That is, environments that help to provide a healing sense of place. Nowadays, one hears of GPs prescribing a green prescription for a patient. That is, they tell the patient to take up walking, cycling, swimming, dancing, any form of exercise, instead of prescribing a drug. Michael Viney, the Irish Times nature columnist, says, there is no antidepressant quite like a good view of the sea. Sometimes I find the idea of escape gives me a sense of well-being. When I'm out walking in nature, I have a sense of freedom, of getting away from it all. of escaping from the busyness of the everyday. Also, walking brings us to places where we can use our senses. Today, many people have forgotten how to use their five senses fully. If you use your five senses well, the sixth sense, intuition, falls into place. On my walks, I recite Seamus Heaney's poem, Postscript, which he wrote on the flaggy shore on the southern edge of Galway Bay. The poem describes how the poet's spirit soars as his senses soak up all it takes to create a perfect moment. I have come to the last section of my walk and my third strategy. So, walking in nature brings you to a transitional space. I call such walking mindful walking. When walking, it is good sometimes to walk at a slower pace. You are conscious of every step, of every breath. You fall silent and you come to stillness. You take time to look around you. Your walking brings you to a place where you experience the extraordinary. It brings you to what I call a wow moment. For example, you see something that causes you to have a sharp intake of breath. You want to hold that breath, to stop time. You are in the now, fully present to the moment, and you do not want the moment to pass. It's as if you have walked through a portal. You have crossed a threshold into another dimension. You are not holding the experience. It is holding you. What has caused this to happen? Well, your physical walking in nature has helped your head to calm and center, so you experience a heightened awareness. Because you are attentive, aware, and present to the now, the ordinary is rendered extraordinary, delightful, marvellous, spiritual. I have had many such experiences in the Burren, on the Aran Islands, and in the native woodland above Inchiquin Lake in Corofin. Lots of experiences with creatures, with sunsets, with waves crashing on the shore, even a rainbow. My favourite poet is Mary Oliver, a US poet who died in January 2019. Her mantra, and is one I want to share with you, is to pay attention. That is our proper and endless work. Her poetry teaches you how to pay attention. On my walks, I sometimes recite Mary's poem, Snow Geese. So the context of Snow Geese is that Mary Oliver was living in Provincetown, Massachusetts at the time, and while she was out in her garden, a flock of snow geese flew overhead. They were escaping from the harsh Canadian winter, and they were making their way to the warmer climes of the Gulf of Mexico. Mary had never seen them before, so she gave them her full attention. At the beginning of the poem, she mentions that things are transitory, and if we don't pay attention to them, we miss them. And remember that the Americans call autumn fall, so she talks about one fall day. So I will say the poem for you. Snow Geese by Mary Oliver. Oh, to love what is lovely and will not last. What a task to ask of anything or anyone, yet it is ours, and not by the century or the year, but by the hours. One fall day I heard above me and above the sting of the wind a sound I did not know, and my look shot upward. It was a flock of snow geese, winging it faster than the ones we usually see, and, being the colour of snow, catching the sun, so they were in part at least golden. I held my breath, as we do sometimes to stop time when something wonderful has touched us, as with a match that is lit and bright, but does not hurt in the common way, but delightfully, as if delight were the most serious thing you ever felt. The geese flew on. I have never seen them again. Maybe I will, someday, somewhere. Maybe I won't. It doesn't matter. What matters is that when I saw them, as through the veil, secretly, joyfully, clearly. So now I've come on to the final strategy, which is based on the idea of mindful walking. So what I recommend you do during your walk is that at some point you slow down, you come to a stop, you breathe deeply, you look around you and be aware and alive to all the living things about you. So you leave yourself open to a wow moment. Sometimes it can happen spontaneously, and sometimes you have to put yourself in the zone to experience it. I will leave the last word to Rumi, the Persian poet, Islamic scholar and Sufi mystic. He lived in the 13th century, and Rumi says, "We are all just walking each other home." Goramahaguth, Slán Leat, happy walking always in Galway and along the trails throughout County Galway.